listening to Jai Long, and this is Make Your Break. Whether you're a big-hearted creative or an aspiring entrepreneur, let's take action on your dreams, reconnecting you with your why and giving you the how. I'm here to dish out actionable mindset tips and fun industry secrets to help you blow up your biz. From eye-opening reality checks to motivational gold, no two episodes are ever the same. So tune in weekly, skip the FOMO, and let's dive into the deep together. Hey, we've had such a big year. I know I have here at Jai Long Co, and I would like to know, have you had a big year? How do you feel from this year? Did you hit some of those big goals that you set out in January 2021? Are you feeling a little bit burnt out? Did you have a big season? Did you do a lot of work? Did you make a big impact? Did you meet a lot of people? Did you learn a lot of things? Did you look after your health? Did you stay on track? I'd love to, we're getting to the end of 2021, and I'd love to ask you these questions so you start thinking about them for yourself. Now, this episode, I'm going to talk about goals because we're coming to the end of the year, and as we reset and go into a new year, a lot of us, we have so much more hope at the start of a week, start of a month, and the start of a year. And that's usually when we write down a to-do list, we write down our goals, we think about our habits, we think about all the things that we do in our daily life. And it's the perfect chance for us to reset and maybe change some of those goals and some of those habits. So this episode is going to be very casual. I've got a few ideas, and I really want to talk to you about maybe what you need in 2022 and at this festive season that's coming up in front of us. Few things for you to think about, because I want to make sure that you're going into this new year and you're feeling recovered, you're feeling ready, you're feeling ambitious, your goals are back, you're full of energy, and you're ready to make a huge impact in this new year. So that's what it's all about. So I'm excited about today's episode. Today, we've actually got a sponsor for this episode as well. So this is Pepperstorm Media. These guys are my all-star amazing copywriters, and I've worked with them for years, doing all my copy for, sales pages, for my website, for blog posts, for so many different things. And so if you struggle with doing loads of blog posts that rank in Google, or working on your website or the copy so it actually converts, you should definitely get in touch with Pepperstorm. You can find them at jailong.co/Pepperstorm, and there is a code there that will give you $100 off your first session with them. And they're incredibly affordable, and incredibly amazing. So they're actually really good friends of mine, and I'm just helping them out, and they work with so many of my mentees as well. So again, head over to jailong.co/Pepperstorm. Okay, so the new year's coming. I want to talk about goals. I want to talk about things that you need right now. One thing we like to do is we like to try and add on more goals or more things in the new year. So we think about maybe for our health, we think about, I'm going to go on a diet, or I'm going to do some more exercise. It's always about more and more. Or for our business, we think about I've got bigger goals. I want to start increasing my prices. I want to add more services. I want to start a new Instagram account. I want to start a podcast. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to go all over the place. Or in our personal life, maybe I'm going to go find a life partner. Maybe I want to spend more time with my partner, with my kids, with my dog, with my cat. I want to do these things. And what we do is we start to overwhelm ourselves, because in 2021, you probably already had too much on your plate. And a lot of us, we suffer from overwhelm. We have too much going on. I know I do, and that's why I have to make sure I plan out my weeks, plan out my months, and plan out my year so I know exactly what I'm doing all the time. So this episode is going to be a little bit different, because what I want to talk to you today is about subtracting goals or subtracting work off your plate, subtracting food off your plate, right? Because we're always talking about adding, expanding bigger. And, I am definitely all about those unrealistic goals and expanding and getting bigger. But one thing that I haven't really talked about with you yet is when I set unrealistic goals, crazy unrealistic goals, one thing that I have to do is I have to subtract things off my plate, because I can't just keep adding things on and then not expect to burn out or get into a breaking point or need a vacation, So when I think about my new year, I think about, what do I need to subtract? What's not bringing me joy right now? So a few practical things for you to think about going into the new year, and I want you to write these things down. What is it that you're doing right now? Do you have a part-time job? Are you offering too many services? Do you have too many Instagram accounts? Do you publish on too many platforms? Are you feeling overwhelmed and you're not best serving your clients, or you're not best serving your staff, or you're not best serving yourself? Do you not take any breaks off because you're working too hard? You've got too many things going on, too many projects, too many half-finished projects. Do you have those things? In the last year, do you have any of those things? Now, if you do, I want you to write those things down, and I want you to really think about them. Which ones bring you the most amount of income? Now, I do think this is the most important, because I do believe as a business owner, the more income you can make with the least amount of work means really the more happiness you're going to have, because you're going to have more time, more space for all those projects that you like to do, or the bigger impact that you want to make. You'll have more clarity and things like that. So I start categorizing things like what actually makes me the most amount of money. Now, the next thing I think about is what brings me the most joy. I want you to think about that. What brings you the most money? What brings you the most joy? Now, the next thing is like, what makes the biggest impact? Because maybe something makes a big impact, but it doesn't actually bring you the most amount of money. So an impact could be like, for you, for instance, I'm not too sure what you want to do, but maybe you want to raise money for charity or donate some of your time, or maybe you want to have a better client experience or a customer experience. Like, there's so many different things you can do with your impact. Maybe you want to help more people. Maybe you want to better serve your clients, like whatever it is. So I want you to write these things down. Now, this whole subtract thing, this is going to be so important, because I kid you not, the less you have on your plate, the more clarity that you have. And if you know me, you know that I say the most important thing for you is clarity, because the most deadly thing to any business is overwhelm. Overwhelm is literally the thing that kills so many businesses. If you have a to-do list that never ends, too many things on your plate, too many clients, too much work, too much editing, not enough time in the day, overwhelm will lead to burnout, and also you won't make a big impact because you don't even know where to start. You don't know what to do. So overwhelm is the killer of business. So I want you to be thinking about, how can you give yourself more clarity? Clarity is the opposite. If you have clarity, you feel like you have more freedom, you feel like you have more choices, and it's so much easier to make that huge impact, right? So every day I make sure that I have so much clarity that when I wake up, I know exactly what I'm doing that day. And if it only takes me a couple of hours, then I can take the rest of the day off, no problem. So that's something I want you to think about. Now, the less that you do, the more time you have to thrive, because when you have too much on your plate, you go into survive mode. And when I talk about survive mode, it's not just about like making the most amount of money, or you're trying to make money to pay bills. Like surviving just to get through the workload, or surviving with your mental health, or surviving with, constantly showing up on social media, whatever it is. If you get to work and you're like, oh, there's no way I can do an Instagram live today. I can't show up on social media. I can't do Instagram stories. Like I can't make an extra phone call to one of my clients because I'm just feeling stressed and I'm feeling burnt out, So that's survive mode. That's where you are. You're just trying to make things work. Now, thrive mode means you have the space to think. You have money so you can invest in yourself. You have time so you can spend more time on each project or on each client. So thrive mode is really where we want to get to. And now the base, the start to get to thrive mode is getting back some of your time. Now, whether that is consolidating 3 Instagram accounts into 1 Instagram account, whether that's outsourcing, getting a VA, getting someone else to maybe edit your photos or edit your podcast or whatever it is that you do, that could be a great start. Another start is like by reconciling and getting down to doing and offering less services. The less that you offer, the more money that you make. One mistake that we make very often is we start struggling in our business. Let's just say, for example, maybe you're a wedding photographer and you're struggling, you're not getting much work. So what we do is we think, let's add some more things on, because if I add more things to my plate, I'm going to make more money. So maybe now you want to be a wedding photographer, but you're also going to do maternity photography, real estate photography, you're going to do commercial photography. And we started all these different businesses to try and compensate for our failing business that we have. Because if your business was flourishing, you probably wouldn't have to do a whole bunch of things, right? But what happens is You don't get more work, but the workload increases tenfold because now you have 2 Instagram accounts, 2 websites. Now you're going to do blog posts for 2 different websites. Now you need to keep on top of, different clients or different marketing. And if you couldn't even do that on the one business, you're going to struggle by doubling your workload and having more businesses. So I really want you to think about that. If you have one core offer and one service, and you don't have to, go out there right now and like get rid of all your different offers and stuff like that. There's all different ways to get through and set up a business. But one thing that I do know, if you have one offer, one core offer, it means you have one message. It's really easy for you to keep talking about that on your social media or making blog posts about it or sharing that with the world. Incredibly easy. Gives you clarity. It's easy to make content. It's easy to keep on top of, the clients for that one thing. And then also it's easier to expand your business because now you can have different offerings around the one thing. You can have different upsells, different cross sells. You can create a better client experience. Like there's so many things you can do around the one thing. So if you haven't absolutely exhausted the one business and expanded it, to a new audience and been able to increase your prices and offer more things in the one business, then it's probably not time to start another business and start doubling your workload, especially if you just don't even have enough time for the one business right now. The less things you do, the more time that you have. So when I have more time, this is something I was just looking at before. So one thing I want you to think about is creativity. So when you're in thrive mode, you can actually be creative. Now, research shows that if you play, practice, and have different experiences, you're going to be more creative. Now, all those things come down to having more time. So if you play, you practice, and having more and different, wider variety experiences. So there's been so many times in my life where I've just gone out and I've changed my environment and I have done something and that sparked on something bigger. One good example and one story I like to tell is 2 years ago, I was feeling incredibly burnt out. I was running workshops, every single month. I was shooting 66 to 70 weddings for that year. I was traveling to every single state. I was traveling all over, the world actually, shooting weddings. And I was feeling so burnt out. I had no time and I wasn't making a huge impact. And I was leaving money on the table because I couldn't even brainstorm, new ideas or work on my business or, do anything because I was just working. So I decided to take a little bit of time off and I drove up to northern New South Wales, which is about 2,000 kilometers away from me. And I did it by myself in my old vintage car. And I just took some time just to drive and think and, for days, drive and think, listen to a few podcasts, listen to some Audible, things like that. And after a while, I realized that I wasn't that happy because I was working too much and I wasn't making that much impact. So I started thinking about the things I could take off my plate for the new year. And then I started thinking with this newfound time, what else could I be doing with the time that would bring me more happiness and more impact? And that is when I had enough time, enough space for me to think up the idea of creating the Make Your Break podcast. Now, needless to say, that podcast has created a lot of impact for me. It's connected me to so many people all around the world, and it's something that I absolutely love doing all the time. Like, it's not a chore for me. I love doing it. So that all comes from me taking some time off. Now, remember, creative thinking, it will come from play, practice, and having different experiences. Having fun, right? Getting yourself into the space where you can thrive and you're actually having fun. And I want you to do that. Now, with this festive season that's coming up, one thing that I want you to do is I want you to have a break. Insanely important. Because everything that I talk about all the time is about optimizing your life and becoming the best version of yourself. Now, I talk about business a lot, how to go out there relentlessly, and hit those unrealistic goals, make things happen. But I want you to look after yourself, because if you're constantly just hitting it over and over, you are at risk of having chronic stress. And I want you to make sure that you're looking after yourself. So there's so many things that you could be doing, but chronic stress, I want you to be thinking about, right now, do you have a low mood? Do you get frustrated a lot? Do you have lack of motivation, lack of energy? Do you get sick more frequently? Is it difficult concentrating? Do you feel unfocused or fuzzy? These things like, do you have poor performance? Do you turn to maybe even drugs or alcohol to cope with some of these stress? Or do you shy away from seeing friends and family or coworkers? Now, this sounds like I'm a pharmaceutical company and I'm about to subscribe you some pills, but it's not like that, right? Right now, all these things are symptoms of stress. And I want you to be thinking about right now, for 2022, for you to be the best version of yourself, for your clients, for your family, for your friends, for all the people around you, what do you need right now? Like, do you need rest? And if you do need rest, this festive season is the perfect time. Now, with rest, there's so many things that you can do. One thing I want you to do is make sure you're doing nothing for periods of that time, like whether that's going for a walk outside or you're exercising and you're just allowing your mind just to think and be creative. Like, think of whatever it is, but just not be distracted by a podcast or anything like that. So just doing nothing, going for long drives, going for a walk, going for a swim, going for a bike ride, just doing nothing. This festive season, I want you to commit to these things because it's going to help you realign and get energized and motivated for 2022. And if you want to make big impact, you want to make bigger things in your life happen, those unrealistic goals, it all starts right here. Taking that time to think, reflect, what is it that doesn't bring you happiness from 2021 and how can you give yourself more time in 2022? Remember, giving yourself more time means you get to play a little bit more and it means you're going to thrive a lot more because when something comes up, you're going to have more time to work on it. Or if you have a creative idea, you're going to be able to actually execute those ideas without saying like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm too busy. I'm just working. Now, of course, benefits of taking a break is going to reduce your stress. Like, this is obvious, but if you're in a stressful environment all the time and you're always just, working, or feeling overwhelmed, or, the to-do list just goes forever and you're working on weekends and everything like that, like, I want you to reduce your stress. So having a rest is going to help you reduce your stress. And this is physically and mentally as well. It's going to put you into a happier and healthier place. It's going to give you clearer thinking. Especially if you're chronically stressed, you probably can't sleep that well. There's so many things that you can't do and you're probably not thinking sharp. So having clearer thinking is going to be insanely important. And of course, it's going to increase productivity. So if you want increased productivity, so you have more time for your relationships, so you have more time for your family, you have more time for your business to thrive, like I was talking about before, you're going to have to take a break. I'm telling you right now. So those ones are really important. But here's a few other things I want you to do. Learning something new, research shows, will decrease your stress levels and will give you more creativity. So there's a few ways of doing this. Actually, being part of a new community or watching other people learn or other people hit wins or other people create something actually relieves stress. So one thing you could do in this festive season is maybe take up a pottery class, or maybe you could get out and start painting, or maybe you could go to yoga and join a new class and meet some new people and watch people learn and you yourself learn and relax as well. So there's so many things that you could do there, but I think it's so important to get away from the computer and go out there and physically learn something new. If you get into those classes, like, trust me, you're going to get some new ideas. And these things here, I'm kidding you not, every single time I've ever taken a rest from my business in my life, I've made a significant more amount of money the next year. Okay, so if you're thinking next year, I'm making 50,000 in my business, I want to increase it to 100,000, or if you're making 100,000, I want to increase it 10 times to 1 million. Man, you need to take a break. You need to look after your mental health, your physical health. Now, one thing I want to say, I want to share this with you because in the 90s, when I was growing up, there was a TV show and it was called Healthy, Wealthy and Wise. I actually need to Google it and see see what this show is about. But it was called Healthy, Wealthy and Wise. And I used to love watching it. When I was a kid, I used to love watching it. So one thing I think about right now all the time, I think about those three words, healthy, wealthy and wise. And I think about, what am I doing right now that's helping me to become the best version of myself, to become healthy, wealthy, and wise? So you have those three things, but I break them down as well. So healthy is not just your physical health. It's also obviously your mental health, but it's also healthy relationships, healthy relationship with work as well. So staying healthy like that. Now, wealthy, that doesn't just always mean money. Like wealthy in so many different things. Like I think about wealthy with like having wealth with my happiness, like with my freedom. And then wise, I think about that all the time. Like, am I reading enough books? Am I learning something new? Am I expanding my horizon? Am I debating with people? Am I listening to other people's opinions? So these things are really important for me. So healthy, wealthy, and wise. Now for 2021, 2022, I do believe that maybe for you to hit your best version of yourself, to expand, like I want you to repeat these things to yourself. If you're starting a new habit, if you're creating a new goal, healthy, wealthy, and wise, do they get you closer to those things? So this festive season, if you're going to take some time off, I would also love you to read a new book. And I do have a book suggestion for you. Right now, I'm personally reading this book, and it's taken me so long. I don't know why I haven't read it, but a lot of people have been telling me to read it. But it's called Atomic Habits, and it's by James Clear. Now, this book is great because habits are so, so important. And one analogy that he actually talks about in there is having a goal is good, but having a goal is like getting out into the field when you're playing a game and kicking the goal. But what actually got you there? It's the habits, it's the training in between. It's what you wore and all that kind of stuff. Like it's how you showed up. It's like waking up in the morning. It's what you ate, It's the habits that you have that got you to play the game at your best performance to hit those big goals. So something to think about there, but maybe this season, maybe this festive season, you can pick yourself up a new book. You can sit somewhere and go and read that. Give yourself some space, so you can get that creative thinking happening, so you can get healthy, wealthy, and wise, so you can reduce your stress levels, and so you can be so clear with what you want in 2022. And if you do want to go and quit your job, if you do want to perform at the highest level, if you do want to have that crazy client experience and serve as much as possible, if you do want to get paid what you are worth, and even beyond that, if you do want to make a big impact, if you do want to raise money for charity, if you do want to donate your time, all these things, you need to be the best version of yourself. And right now, if you're feeling run down, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're not thriving, then you're not the best version of yourself. And you need to be honest with yourself. So just to recap this episode, and this month is December, I'm going to do more episodes about goal setting and stuff like that. So don't worry, guys. But just a recap, okay? I want you to be thinking about what you can subtract in 2022. Write down all the things that you do, all the different things that you do. Because sometimes you might be doing a small thing and it takes up the most amount of time and it gives you the least amount of income. Now, if you find something like this, please, you can totally take that off your plate to allow room for something else, because when something disappears, it means there's room for something else, and something does always have to disappear. When you say yes to something, it means you have to say no to something else. When you say no to something, it means you have space to say yes to something else. That's how the universe works, and that's what I'm talking about right now in the simplest form. You need to, if you want to attract something else, you need to subtract something that you're doing right now. If you want to hit those big, crazy, unrealistic goals and do some big things in 2022, then you need to be honest with yourself. What do you need to subtract to make room for the craziness? Okay. Last thing I just want to recap on, and I've said this a few times, is healthy, wealthy, and wise. I think about this all the time. It's a habit of mine whenever I'm creating a goal, whenever I'm goal setting, whenever I'm doing anything. If I'm talking about, if a friend asks me, hey, Jai, I know you're really busy, but you want to go for a bike ride? I say like, ooh, I am busy, but going for a bike ride is going to probably keep me healthier with my relationships, and it's going to keep me healthy with my mental strength, my physical strength, all those things. It's going to probably decrease my stress so I can perform higher. It's going to give me more clarity. So I think about that healthy, wealthy, and wise, a good decision right there. I'm like, yes, I can have half a day off work right now. Let's go for a bike ride. I'm using that analogy right now because literally someone just texted me right now and I just got excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take half a day off tomorrow and I'm going to go ride my bike because I know healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm looking after myself. I got to be honest, guys. I want to be the best version of myself in 2022. I have big goals. I want to do some big things. I'm really excited. I'm relentless, right? Like I just did the WPS Awards, just finished that, just did the Wedding Photography Summit and just opened up the business map. We've just been mapping out 2022 and I was looking at it and I was like, man, we got some big, crazy, unrealistic goals. I can't wait to go after these things. It gets me so excited. I want to hit a new level of everything that I'm doing. I want to perform better, which means I'm going to eat healthier, which means I'm going to have more vacations. And when you have vacations, guys, last thing I just want to finish on is like, not many people are probably going to tell you this, but you are the CEO now. If you're working for yourself, you're a creative entrepreneur, you work for yourself, and you probably talk about work a lot with a lot of people, but you probably don't talk about rest and play a lot. So I want you to think about when you go out this festive season, make sure you're staying at a really nice hotel. Make sure you're drinking some fine wine. You're going to those fancy restaurants. Make sure you're rewarding yourself for the hard work that you put in and you're celebrating. It is so important because if you're out there working, what's the point of it if you're not going to celebrate as well? So I make sure that I work hard because I do. I work hard, but I also party hard and relax hard, okay? So if I'm going out, I just worked hard all year and, we made big impact, big income, all these things. And now I'm thinking, man, now I want to just go and live it up for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm going to shout all my friends. We're going to go out in a fancy restaurant. We're going to eat. We're going to drink champagne. We're going to have top shelf wine. I'm going to spend all my money because it's going to keep me motivated and keep me going for 2022. Another important thing, it brings me happiness to spend money on my friends and my family and share with everybody. So again, think about what brings you some happiness. Go out there. Don't feel guilty for spending some money. Don't feel guilty for taking a step away from your business. Don't feel guilty for having some rest. Don't feel guilty for putting yourself first. If you don't put yourself first and fill your cup up first, you won't be able to fill anyone else's cup. You won't be able to help anybody else. Okay, guys, you've been listening to Jai Long, and this is Make Your Break. I want you to have an amazing 2022, so make sure you stick with me. I'm going to do some more goal-setting podcasts so you have some more practical tips to make things happen. Don't forget, please, if I've brought you some value in this podcast episode, share with your friends because rising the tides raises all the ships. So sharing something like this with your friends that that needs a little bit of help and they want to take their business to another level in 2022, then make sure you do that. Tag me on Instagram so I can reshare it as well. And if you haven't left me a review yet, make sure you do that. I want to see those reviews popping up. So over on the Apple Podcast app, I really appreciate it. I'm sitting here reading one right now from Joel. Thank you so much, Joel, for leaving that review a couple of days ago. I read every single one. So yeah, see you guys next time.